Here are 5 ways to break Garten of Banban 4. So the 4th installment of Garten of Banban just dropped, and as always, we're going to try to break this game as fast as possible. In this chapter, we enter this place called the Kingdom, and we pair up with Sheriff Toadster and this little Opila Chick, and we go throughout this entire area trying to collect 3 pieces to repair an elevator. But on this journey, there are plenty of ways to break this game. So I hope you enjoy this quick breakdown of busting Garten of Banban 4. Enjoy. So number 1, the very first thing we're covering is actually right at the intro to this chapter. So we start the game, we pick up a bird, and the second we pick up this bird and step off the elevator, we start getting chased by Tamataki and Chamataki. Now this was the boss from Garten of Banban 3, and it is now chasing us through these hallways, and it certainly wants our blood. Now this is a very long chase section, and quite honestly, if you just hold shift and run forward, the monster is never going to catch you, and when you get past a certain point, you go through a narrow doorway, and this causes Tamataki and Chamataki to get stuck. Now, from this point forward, they're no longer a threat, and even if we were to run up against them, you can see they look at us, but they do not attack us. So essentially, we are safe. Now, let's break this section. So the way this is designed is that this monster isn't actually chasing you, it is following a set path that just happens to mimic the path that you are going down. And this is very important because if there are any hiccups in this path, we should be able to sidestep the monster. Now this is something I did in Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 because their chase segments worked exactly the same way. The monster itself was not intelligent, it just followed a set path. So in that game, we could literally sidestep Mommy Longlegs and she would just walk on by us. And so with that in mind, I'm looking through these hallways for a section that is just wide enough so that we can escape the hitbox for Tamataki and Chamataki. And wouldn't you know, about 2/3 through the chase, there is a hiccup with one of the walls in this chase section. So looking at this wall, you can see it buckles a little bit. It is not flat, it is 2 intersecting faces that then forms a flat wall later on. And this section of the hallway is also wider. So at first I tried staying in the corner and I died, but that's when I noticed this little section that I could stand in right here, and look at that, the boss just ran on by us. So now we're free to explore this entire section before the boss, because normally this area is blocked off with invisible colliders. Essentially, invisible walls that prevented us from doing things. And if we were to go back into that first room where the boss emerges from, we can now enter it. And as you can see, it's completely dark in here. Now if we turn on the lights, you can see that there's no walls to this room. It is merely some ground, and the rest of the environment is just the open void. So looking across from here, we can see the rest of the level, and we can also navigate around the sides of this hallway because the floor sticks through it quite a bit. And going all the way to the end of the chase, we can see the boss is stuck, and we can clip through some of their geometry from behind. But if we go too far into their body, somehow we'll get jump scared, and it looks very, very strange. Moving on to number 2. This one's all about Sheriff Toadster and how he walks in this game. So the pathfinding, or the route that Sheriff Toadster takes when he's walking to and fro, is something that we can manipulate as the player. So as you can see here, if Sheriff Toadster starts to walk, if the player sits in front of them, well, it's going to cause their walking to stutter a bit. They will also sort of try to rotate and get around the player, and this will move them from side to side. Now we can do this at the beginning and make their dialogue for the bridge section trigger very early, but unfortunately, in this circumstance, we cannot force Sheriff Toadster to fall off the bridge. No matter how many times I tried, he would get stuck on the side and walk back on. And this is because he's programmed to not leave the surface that he's on. However, hold that thought, because we can still use his walking logic against him. So Sheriff Toadster does a lot of walking in this chapter, and we have to keep up with him while he talks. But in certain areas, like that section that goes from the stairs to the elevator, well, we can use his pathfinding against him. So in certain situations, as you can see, we can have Sheriff Toadster push us far into the air. This happens because he's designed to move the player forward, but if we're not moving, the game does not check to make us drop down our Y value or fall. So he continues to push us as we float way above him as he goes down the stairs. And in order to achieve this, we need to manipulate him so that he's walking against the edge of the staircase, so that when we're getting pushed, he's also trying to figure out what he should be doing. And in the same area, if we push him far enough, he will eventually try to walk through the railing on the sides. And if done correctly, Sheriff Toadster will actually soft lock. He will no longer move forward, and he will be stuck there, clipping through the railing. And this is a problem because normally we're walking back to fix the elevator, but we can't because we can't interact with it until Toadster gets to the elevator himself. So basically, it's game over, and this guy will sit here forever. Okay, next up we have something that I'm calling bird hovering. I don't really know what to call it, but maybe it will be beneficial for speedrunners who can master it. So here's the thing, throughout this chapter we have Toadster and also this Opila Chick that accompany us. And both of these characters will follow us. And we can pick up the Opila Chick and we can drop them anywhere we want. So the idea is this, we can use the Opila Chick and Toadster combined to gain height. And how this works is you take Toadster and you have him walk against a wall so that if you jump behind him as a player, you are pressed up against the wall's collider and also the collider on Sheriff Toadster's model. So now you can't walk, and now you pick up your bird and you look downwards and you jump and you drop the bird at the same time. And you basically slam your keyboard like a madman, hitting those same 3 buttons over and over to jump and drop. And if done correctly, you'll be able to gain some height because jumping on top of the bird sometimes will trigger another jump. So sort of like sword canceling in Halo, you're basically gliding up the wall. Now, I do not know the speedrunning use cases for this. My hunch would be that perhaps if this is viable and can be used, that perhaps a speedrunner could then get on the roof of the building where all the rooms are combined. So they could walk on the roof and perhaps drop out of bounds and pick up an object from behind a wall, which may then trigger an autosave so they can quit and reload and skip a part of the game. So for certain sections of this game, all you need is an autosave to trigger so that when you reload, it will put you in the correct spot again. And really, some of the walking sections in this game area actually are faster to pause, quit, and reload than to actually walk there following Sheriff Toadster, like when you're going to the elevator for the first time. So maybe bird hovering, or whatever you want to call it, can aid in some way. Moving on to number 4, this takes place when Banban is guiding us. So Banban, for some reason, wants to take this robot thing strapped to his back and give it to a friend. But unfortunately, Nab Nab steals this thing, and Banban starts chasing after Nab Nab. We have to run and then jump across some platforms, and then we encounter Banban and Nab Nab fighting in this glass room. And then Nab Nab is defeated, and we grab the gear, and Banban just sort of stays behind. Now you saw that Banban was running in front of us way faster than us during this entire ordeal. However, there is a way to cause Banban to break, and I'm not entirely sure what the trigger is just yet. However, I will show you what happens when he does break. So after Nab Nab steals our robot friend, well, Banban starts to move, and then they just stop. So in my first playthrough, when I was trying to mess with the game, Banban just stopped right here. And he did not start running, so I was confused. And I thought I was supposed to chase Nab Nab myself. And so I did. And this way, if you go before Banban, the door off to the left that is closed is actually open. So there's no reason to do the jumping puzzle. You can just walk up the stairs and then go in the room. And when you enter the room, well, Banban is going to appear in front of you with Nab Nab. Except it's glitched out. So if Banban never enters this room, the fight sequence actually never ends. So the room goes dark and the door never opens up, so we are soft locked and we cannot get out of this room. All the doors in this room do not open. So the only way to escape is to hack open this door and then enter the darkness. Now doing so allows for the final dialogue to happen, but we still can't see. And we also cannot see where the gear is at. But if we do pick up the gear, everything goes back to normal and we can proceed. However, the fact that this happened is quite humorous. Number 5. So we encounter this Jester character many times in this chapter, but at the very end of the chapter, there is a final chase scene where this Jester chases after us. And we're supposed to run all the way to the elevator with Sheriff Toadster and jump on it before the Jester can jump scare us. Now here's the deal. Once again, similar to Sheriff Toadster, we can manipulate the Jester and get him stuck. So as we come down the staircase, you'll see these 2 objects right here. And as you can see, as I run around them, the Jester is constantly updating its pathfinding to find us so that it can take the quickest route possible to reach us. However, there is a slight problematic range with this pathfinding, which causes this jester to try to fit into a space he cannot fit in. And so the jester gets stuck between these two objects, and he just kinda sits there. So when he's stuck, we are free to move wherever, and we can walk back up the staircase and see that the queen's room is actually off access. There's an invisible wall that prevents us from going back inside, but in this moment, we are completely safe. The jester is stuck, and the final chase scene is no longer an issue, and we are free to walk to the elevator as slow as we want. But with that, that's 5 game breaks in Garten of Banban 4. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe now if you did, and I'll see you all in the next video real soon. Cheers!